Hey everyone! I'm Albert Boris. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It was a fun game. It's been over 2.5 years now since it first came out on the Switch 1, and while I had my problems with it, most notably its lack of difficulty, replay value, and lame boss fights, on the whole it was definitely one of the most magically creative Mario platformers. Let alone the only 2D Mario game that genuinely impressed me. And guess what? Today, we also just got a Switch 2 exclusive DLC for it. And well, to put it short, holy shit, this expansion was way better than I had any right of imagining. We got our first look at it back during last year's September Direct, and safe to say, I had quite a few reservations about it initially. The prospect of getting more content for it was certainly cool, but I also wasn't really sure how much I'd really be looking forward to what seemed to just be a bunch of multiplayer minigames. Especially after Super Mario Party Jamboree Switch 2 edition was just that, and it was just all uninspired slop for the most part. That's not to say I didn't think the idea of minigames was unwelcoming. After all, most of the new 2D Mario games had their fair share of side content as well, and the fact that this game had none of that initially was a little surprising. Do I wish all of this new content was in the base game from the get-go? Yeah, no doubt. To put this in comparison terms, all of this being DLC is kind of like if Alamar's Tale and the Dandori side modes of Pikmin 4 had a paywall behind them as well. And considering the same development team worked on these two games, it kinda stings knowing they didn't give the same treatment for this game. That said, looking at this as its own thing, for $20 this is easily the most fun I've had with a Switch 2 edition upgrade so far. And I don't hesitate to say that besides the addition of Rosalina, who I believe to be cheap Galaxy fan service, and the assist mode, which seems pointless with this game's easiness, I loved every addition that was brought here. Okay, before anyone asks, I don't actually dislike Rosalina being here, I also don't really care for her anymore. Her specialness is completely worn out. Anyways, perhaps the most important question going into this Switch 2 edition for me first was the matter of implementation. Is the new content here organically applied to the rest of Mario Wonder, or is it just treated as an entirely separate campaign on the title screen, where none of your achievements are carried over from the base game? Well, as it turns out, it's a bit of both, and in the best way. You can enter the new Bellabel Park area from the world map, but you can also just jump right into it as you boot up the game. And even moreover, you even have the option to play the Switch 1 edition of the game without any of the new influences. See, it's not so hard, ND Cube. So yeah, this was the first sign to me that this DLC wasn't just a lazy cash grab. The second sign were the minigames themselves. Now, to get the obvious flaws out of the way first, yeah, the way you can play them is unfairly limiting to say the least. 10 out of the 17 can only be played in local multiplayer, which definitely sucks out a lot of the potential instances you'll even be able to play them. And while you can play them online technically by using game share, that brings us into the other problem, because even the 6 minigames you can play online normally don't allow you to matchmake with randoms. Heck, you can't even search up random lobbies, you can only play with friends. However, when you do get to play them, it is absolutely kingly. Most of them make use of entirely new gimmicks, whether it be ball bouncing, baby Yoshis, racing shoes, or even the Phanto enemy. And coupled in with the already impeccably responsive controls for this game, it makes playing them already super fun on a base level. And the ideas are fun as well, whether you're trying to eat as many enemies as possible, blow away other players off the map, finding your way out of a maze, or trying to keep track of how many coins or jumps you make in one level. There are engaging challenges for everyone. My personal favorite ones are the Phanto hide and seek tag, as well as the one where you work together to create donut blocks to traverse an open gap. However, in the end, I don't think there's a single one I didn't like. All of them are incredibly innovative and perfectly capture the chaotic potential of Mario Wonder's mechanics. Although perhaps the best surprise is how a lot of these attractions also make use of the game's already pre-existing levels as the arenas. It gives these minigames even more replay value, when you can always try out these challenges in so many different variations. And while not every level specifically is available for every attraction, there is enough that trying everything once is bound to take at least several hours. It's kinda hard to give these minigames justice just because there's so many different types of them, all of them crazy in their own right, but hey, that's just a good thing. Even the hub area itself for these minigames is pretty cute to explore. There aren't any important secrets to find, but it's still charming enough that they give you the opportunity to look through every nook and cranny. It's just a bit of a shame that on the whole, playing any of this isn't too easy. And if you don't see yourself playing much of this, the value of this upgrade definitely falters a fair bit. However, the main new mode I see most people talking about, and understandably main highlight for most, is the single-player Captain Toad training campaign. And to be honest, I completely understand. Even just for me personally, I feel it almost perfectly addresses the main issues I had with Super Mario Bros. Wonder to begin with, that dragged the game down. So what is the gist of this? Well, basically, you get whole lists of challenges for yourself to tackle, whether it be coin collecting, enemy genocide, or speedrunning through levels under different conditions. It's kinda similar to the Trial Towers mode of Mario Tennis Fever. Nothing too big per se, I got done with all of them within the span of under 3 hours, but shockingly, it's got a lot more value to itself than it first lets be known. It's already one thing that the challenges themselves are a lot of fun, often giving entirely new perspectives to some levels that I viewed entirely differently in the base game. But get this, they even have a high score system, so you're constantly incentivized to keep coming back and aim for a cleaner run. And it's especially satisfying because some of these challenges are genuinely quite a bit difficult. Not badge marathon levels of difficult, but harder than what most of this game has to offer. Especially the extras one that don't fall under a common category and go completely crazy on their objectives. However, none of this is even the biggest highlight here. No, that would be the Koopalings, who return as the boss fights of this adventure. Remember Bowser Jr.? Remember how shallow the main game's fights were, and how little they actually made use of this game's gimmicks? The fact that they were such a step below the rest of the game to begin with will always be baffling, but as big of a problem, it is no more, because the Koopalings address that and more. These are some of the most creative boss fights I've ever had the joy of battling in a 2D Mario game, and while that doesn't say much considering the standards are low, there is no irony here. It is absolutely magical how much they effortlessly take advantage of this game's already frantic wonder effects in all the ways I'd want them to for boss fights. And it's an especially nice evolution for the Koopalings as well, after how much hate they got in the 2010s for being generic filler bosses in Yuzu. They weren't that bad, but compared to this game, it's insane what a glow up they got. And best of all, you don't even have to do any of the other missions to play them. All of them are available from the start, as long as you've unlocked the world you fight them in. So you can just experience them while playing through the game normally as well. Honestly, I don't think I have any issues with these bosses as a collective. At first, I did think they were a little too easy, but then I found out you could rematch them as part of missions, and I take back everything I said. Also, as a side note, I even unintentionally predicted Roy Koopa's boss fight 3 years ago on Reddit, which caught me completely by surprise upon finding out about it here. Seriously, I'm probably gonna make a ranking video on these bosses after this video. Maybe it's a bit insane to say these fights alone make this upgrade worth $20, but honestly, I think it could be, at least for me. Even beyond these big new things though, there's even a few smaller quality of life updates unrelated to them that come with this DLC that go a long way in making this game feel even more complete. One of them being this new flower pot mushroom power-up, which gives you the ability to flutter jump, glide down, and send up lethal flower projectiles. This was probably one of the main things I was worried about when the first trailers came, just because it seemed like they'd make this already easy game feel even more mindless. But no, it didn't. It helps that you can only get them during the Koopaling levels, giving them a sense of exclusivity. And in the context of these levels, I'd say the flower pot item feels very well suited, just because its versatility gives you more ways of tackling these fights for variety's sake. There's also new emotes you can earn, by investing this new currency, Bellabel water, to these fountains in the new hub, which you earn by playing the challenges. That was the last thing I was expecting on my wishlist, and again, it's just a nice thing to have. There's even double badges now that combine badge effects of 2. I do think it's a little odd that you can't just combine badges manually, and that you instead have to pick from predetermined ones, but hey, this does at least give me more of a reason to experiment with badge effects for badges that are otherwise completely pointless in the game. You can also decorate the Bellabel Park hub area for no reason, and there's even a poplin researching the background to the Flower Kingdom to give you lore drops. How cool is that? Oh yeah, and there is also a resolution bump, I guess. Not that I noticed it, but apparently it's there. But yeah, when all is said and done though, this Switch 2 edition release was so much more enjoyable than I could ever expect. I would definitely go as far as to say that out of the 3 big Switch 2 edition games so far, this is easily the best and the most justified one to exist thus far. It's obviously superior to Jamboree TV, and I even prefer this over Star Across the World for Kirby in the Forgotten Land. That was another great one, but it was also definitely more of just the same thing, and besides the increased difficulty in frame rate, nothing it brings is quite as game-changing as Meetup in Bellabel Park. In fact, when ranking all of Nintendo's Switch 2 games so far, I'd probably put this near the top as well. I'm not sure if I can quite call it S tier yet, but it could definitely grow on me even more in the future. Overall, I give this full package a 9.5 out of 10 at the very least. The only thing that could make the DLC itself better was if we could maybe get an additional real world or 2 with more levels, but I digress. However, what did you guys think? If you've played it, did you also enjoy it? Or if you haven't, did this video perhaps make you want to get it? Let me know in the comment section down below and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for my upcoming boss ranking for this game. And so with all that being said, I'm signing off now, until next time.